All right, so hey everyone, welcome to today's stream. We're going to be diving back into Reaktor and looking at showing you how to create a Noah 40 Shabib signature style underwater sound using Reaktor blocks. If you don't know what Reaktor blocks is, it is a sound design tool that we use to create synthesis, modular racks, and effects. So let's dive in. This is if you're a music producer or sound designer, this is just the right stream for you. And we'll be covering how to make Nell 40s, 40s known filtered, spacious, ambient, dark pads. So think of lo-fi and dark textures. Let's build it step by step, and stick around to hear the final sound. And feel free to drop questions in the chat. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to open up my version of Reaktor. So again, it's a sound design tool that we use to create sound and shape our music or sound design. So there's 3 different sections when you open it up. There's a place section, a patch section, and a build section. Today we're going to jump into the build section because we can build the most flexible designs with this using blocks, which are, think of them as modular components, just like you'd have a hardware synthesizer or modular rack like Eurosynth. You put together your blocks and build out something. Let's say that's a generative sound or anything else. But we're going to be building it in a digital environment today, and it's not going to require any hardware. It's all going to be software based. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to use a note in, like we most of the times we do, because we do need to get sound into the computer somehow. So we're going to use that note in. And once I bring in a note in, you can see when I play a note, the red light here lights up. You can have multiple note in. That's probably why that's why it changes color. Because you can have multiple note ins. For example, if I duplicated it, let's see, I can make this one yellow or red, and I can make or orange, sorry, and then this one can be red because that's more note input 2, and then duplicate it one more time, and then we got another note input. Oops, I changed the wrong one. So we got another note input right here. So this one will be, that one was orange. I changed that one. That one was orange. This one will be, let's say, green or pink, whatever color you want to choose, yellow. So now you have 3 note ins. Congratulations, you have 3 different ways to input notes. That's useful when we're building out modular generative racks and we want to have multiple different note ins so we can tell them apart. We just simply color them note in, note in, note in as different colors. So that's really useful, so I don't have to name it like note in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to a million, or to whatever number you want to go up to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete these 2 note ins. And we're going to start off with our note input. We have that. We're going to start with another thing we need, which is a clock to sync our modulation. Then we're going to add in our oscillators. The next step is to add in some oscillators. We bring in some oscillators from here. We're going to use a sine wave, so that's already set as a sine wave. Just going to organize the panel a little bit, add in a filter, bring in that filter. We're going to need some reverb. We're going to go to the rounds collection, bring in some reverb, and then we're going to go to and add an amp. So I'm going to bring in a bento box amp, and that's going to look like that. So we have our basic components all stacked up. This is going to shape our sound. This is going to add some dreamy reverb. This is going to shape our sound right here, the VCA. This is going to give us some dreamy reverb. That's the spacey vibe we're going to get from the reverb. And we're going to add some low pass with our filter to create that underwater feel. And it's going to give us an effect that's nice and smooth. And then, of course, we have a sine wave for the smooth, round tone that it gives us. This is a sound generation device that's going to give us our feeling. So, and then finally we have our MIDI input, which sends all that through these modules and out to our speakers. So I went backwards here, but I'm just showing you the signal flow and how that works. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight into how to route signal flow in Reaktor. So next, we're gonna hook it all up. Oscillator to filter, filter to the VCA, and VCA out. And just before we go out, we're gonna add in before we do that, we'll connect it up and we'll hear what our raw tone sounds like. So we're gonna have a raw tone here. I'm gonna change this back to number 1, and that looks good. I'm getting a note in from my MIDI keyboard underneath me, and we're going to now let's shape the sound into a sound that would match 40 style. So we're gonna use a sine wave, pure tone, and now I'm going to add a second oscillator. We're going to detune that second oscillator so that it's detuned slightly, so that we get a little bit of movement and ambient feel, just slightly detuned for width, basically. So let's do 2 right there, and then we're gonna add on the VCA, we're gonna add envelope because we do need that, and we're going to connect it to our gate connection. And from this envelope, we're going to dial in our attack, decay, and sustain and release. So we're going to give it 10 to 20 milliseconds of delay, or not delay, attack. So I'm going to fine tune that by holding down the shift key so I can fine tune my controls. We'll give about 15 milliseconds of that. And then we're going to add some medium decay. We've got that already. We're going to add some sustain. We'll put sustain about 70%. We have 100 at the beginning, so we'll dial it back. As you can see, there's a number underneath here. It's going down. Just pull down on your mouse. We'll do about 70% on the actual envelope. And we'll do a long reverb release for an ambient tail. So shorter release, longer release, shorter release, longer release. So we want a longer release. So we're going to make the dial go to the right. So we have a long release. We're going to add some space and depth now. So this is where the magic happens. We'll add a dreamy reverb and modulation so that that 40 uses to create some atmosphere in his music. So I'm going to play this oscillator out loud. So we're gonna pick a key. So I'm gonna pick let's see. Just gonna pick a key. Let's pick A minor. So we know that we have in A minor, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. So natural minor. Yeah. So we'll do okay, so A minor. So we're doing a natural minor. So now that we have our key, we can now start to carve out this sound, make it something that's our own. I'm going to let it play out while we tune in our sound. Adjust the cutoff. So our cutoff is working. Turn the volume a little bit so we can hear what we're doing. And now I'm going to set the cutoff to around 200 to 500 hertz. These are just arbitrary numbers that make it sound good. So feel free to dial in what you feel is necessary. So we're going to increase resonance to give it some slight character. You might not be able to hear it right now because we're not hearing the attack of the sound. We're hearing a steady, constant note. But once we activate our modulation depth, we'll be able to hear the sound coming through. And we'll be able to hear the attack, decay, and the rest of the sound. So we're gonna use an LFO as well to modulate the cutoff slightly on the filter. So that's gonna look like we'll do that for this filter. So modulate slightly. So I'm gonna turn that back up. So we have an LFO. Oh, there we go. It's just muted. So we're modulating at a very low rate, positive modulation at a very low rate right here. So it's moving slightly. To prove that, we can kind of double check and see when we add in a scope that our sound is actually moving. So you can see it's slightly undulating up and down in amplitude. It might be very small to see, but you can see the whole strip here. It's undulating up and down in amplitude, the sine wave, and that's because of the filter. If we turn up the filter, it's at 394 hertz. If we turn it up, we should get a louder or more pronounced peak, which we are. So we turn it back down to 394. Okay, so, or if we turn up the modulation depth, it should be more increased. There we go. More dramatic, I should say. It's more dramatic. Or faster rate. That's the right word to say. It's just faster. So we're going to turn it back down and put a reverb back in. And now let's add in our reverb. Now I'm going to add some modulation depth. Turn this to 0. And we got a nice kind of lo-fi sound. Let's go in the key of A. So I thought of something that would be cool. Let's modulate that size. Okay, so just play a short melody. Okay, so there we have it. We've created our low bass sound that's using modulation, oscillators, and actually, I just realized that we are missing one thing. So we need to blend these two in. So we are going to add that mix knob so that we can do that. So I'm going to turn this up. We should have both oscillators working now. More interesting. For more interesting sound. So. There we go. That sounds more dreamy now already. So we can go down an octave. And there's our bass. Or pad-ish bass. So this is our progression. We'll just play a minor progression. There we go. So, alright, so we've added our filter, so we're good on that side. Just tweaking with the portamento on the filter a little bit, or key tracking, just to see how that sounds. I think that sounds pretty cool. So now, if you found this helpful, there you have it. You have we recreated something close to 40 signature sound in Reaktor with Reaktor blocks. And if you found this helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment on which producer sound you want me to break down next, and I'll be happy to do that. Also, I'll be dropping a free signature sound checklist to help you develop your own signature sound. Be sure to grab it, and I'll see you in the next stream. Peace out.